Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into some fascinating source material. It's excerpts from a book blending a personal story with, well, ancient wisdom on family wisdom.
That's right. The story focuses on Catherine. She's, this very successful business person, really high flying,
Uh-huh.
and her life gets completely turned upside down by a crisis. This forces her to reconnect with her brother, Julian.
Her strange brother, right, who's had this huge transformation himself.
Exactly. He went from being this legal superstar to, well, basically an enlightened monk. It's quite the contrast.
It really is. So our mission here is to dive into this mix of story and teaching and pull out the key insights. What can you take away from this for your own life?
Okay, so let's start with Catherine's journey. The source calls it her Great Awakening. Before this crisis hit, what was her life like?
Well, it was all about external success, wasn't it? Laser focused on the career ladder.
Totally. Accumulating things. The source lists them out.
Mm-hmm.
The fancy car, the big house, the corner office.
Mm-hmm. Right. The Hamptons place, the ski chalet in France. She wanted fame, admiration, money, all the outside stuff.
And she was successful, outwardly. Built this company, bravelife.com, on the brink of, major financial success.
But inside, the source makes it pretty clear she felt empty. It
Yeah.
says she simply had no idea about the true meaning of life.
Yeah, and she admitted pretty bluntly that she prioritized herself, her own goals, even if it meant trampling others.
That line about sacrificing her soul for success and money, that really hits home. She called herself a completely miserable human being despite everything she had.
And the impact on her family is, well, it's tough to read about. Neglecting her partner, John, they were basically living separate lives.
And the kids, Porter, who was 6, and Sarita, 3, suffering from her eternal absences, as the source puts it.
We could see it in their eyes, apparently. Disappointment, needing connection.
And she knew it. She knew these were vital years for them, knew she'd regret missing it, but she couldn't pull away.
Why not? What kept her hooked?
The source mentions the adrenaline rush and sense of significance her work gave her. Family ended up, her words, a distant second.
A distant second to career and getting rich. Wow.
Then comes the crisis, the plane crash.
Yeah. The source describes it vividly. The violent shaking, the sheer terror.
And in those moments when she thought she was going to die, what flashed through her mind?
Not the business deals, right?
Not one thought about it. It was her kids. Their first words, laughing, jumping on the bed. It was John on the porch. A family vacation, the simple moments.
And that led to this huge realization. The source quotes it directly. It's powerful.
At the end of your life, you will find that the things you thought were the big things were actually the little things.
And that all those things you thought were the little unimportant things were actually the big important ones. That's the core of her awakening, isn't it? That huge perspective shift.
Definitely. Then months in the hospital. Grieving her partners, Jack and Ross, who died in the crash, they'd become best friends.
And she decides she just can't go back. No interest in running the company without them. Her focus shifts entirely to healing, to her family.
The source kind of frames this whole thing with the idea that, setbacks aren't just bad, they carry lessons, blessings even.
Right, things you need to learn to get to the next level. It mentions Longfellow, that idea of being parched by the heat and drenched by the rain of life.
She felt she survived for a reason, even if she didn't quite know what it was yet.
And then the reason walks in, or rather wheels in.
Yeah, enter Julian. This really strange encounter described in the hospital hallway.
A figure in an electric wheelchair singing a children's song.
And then he stands up. And he's this, striking young man wearing a doctor's coat over a monk's robe, a red one.
And it's Julian, her brother, the one who'd vanished years ago after selling literally everything he owned.
So he's not just there for a visit. He tells her he came to help her get her life back together.
Not just her body, but her whole life. He knew she was struggling, especially with her family. He saw she was having a kind of spiritual crisis.
Yeah, one that was forcing her to really look at how she was living, what her priorities were.
And Julian's own story is key here. Why did he change so drastically?
The source says he was deeply wounded. He needed to get away after this massive heart attack he had, almost died. Doctors called it a miracle he survived.
And after that, his passion for law just evaporated, gone.
He felt this hunger for something else, a real thirst, the source calls it, to find deeper meaning, asking those huge questions.
What's it all about? Why am I here? What's my purpose?
Exactly, which led him to this whole philosophy about being real. He saw most people as hiding behind a social mask.
Sculpting an image for the world, saying and doing what others expect, He called it a slow death.
So Julian decided to live differently, totally from the heart, showing feelings, crying, singing, expressing love, just being completely present.
And he had this radical view on failure and suffering, too.
Oh yeah, he calls them actually our best friends. Uses that Alexander Graham Bell quote about doors opening when others close.
It's a powerful idea. Our wounds ultimately give us wisdom,
Our stumbling blocks inevitably become our stepping stones.
and our setbacks lead us to our strengths. He saw his own hardships, losing his daughter Ally, the divorce, the heart attack, not as tragedies, but as chances.
Opportunities to find something that would take him to a whole new level of living. More joy, more happiness, more love.
Which explains why he sold everything,
Yeah.
right? The mansion, the private plane, the island.
Even the shiny red Ferrari, the ultimate symbol of his old life. He said he needed to travel light. Possessions just cluttered his mind.
So he stripped it all down, simplified to the absolute core.
And went to India. The source describes this as an incredibly spiritual period for him.
He felt liberated. Finally felt like he was steering his own life, living by design, not default. He mentions George Bernard Shaw there.
And he traveled simply. Train, bicycle, foot. Met people, visited temples, watched sunsets. Reconnected with his inner child, started smiling again.
All while devouring philosophical texts, walking and talking with sages and yogis, asking those deep questions about purpose, happiness, peace.
And this led him to really value the small pleasures. There's a great quote the source includes.
About missing the big prizes, the Pulitzers, the Nobels.
Right, but being eligible for the small stuff, a pat on the back, a kiss, seeing the full moon, finding a parking space.
A good meal, a sunset, soup, a beer. Don't sweat the grand awards. Just enjoy the tiny delights along the way.
Because the road really is as good as the end. Don't put off being happy waiting for some future event.
And this connects to his point that happiness isn't about achieving things. It's a state of mind.
It comes when you think certain thoughts. It's about how you frame things, how you process life. Developing a gratitude mindset.
Appreciating the little wonders every day. Focusing on the beautiful and the good.
He also talks about perspective. The need to metaphorically go up to 35,000 feet.
Stepping back regularly to see the big picture.
Exactly. To check in with your most important priorities, your values, your dreams, and make course corrections if needed. He says most of us just don't do that enough.
It's about consciously building your world around what truly matters, taking responsibility for making each day count.
So Julian's own journey eventually leads him to search for these mysterious sages.
Yes, in the Himalayas. The source describes this incredibly tough climb. Treacherous mountains, pain, near-death experiences.
But also moments of intense beauty, feeling connected to everything. His persistence was incredible.
Reminds me of that Anatole France quote the source uses. Some succeed because they are destined to. Most succeed because they are determined to. Julian was definitely determined.
And finally, he cries out for help, and he's found by one of the great sages of Savannah.
Described as looking maybe late 50s, but with this smooth face, strong body, incredible vitality, regal bearing, penetrating eyes.
Julian just pours his heart out, tells him everything, the success, the loss of his daughter, Ally, begs to learn the secrets of a meaningful life.
And the sage listens, really listens, then puts an arm on his shoulder and promises to help, seeing how genuine his desire is.
Turns out Julian was the first outsider to find their hidden village in years. The sage admired his tenacity.
And leads him to Savannah, which sounds magical. Breathtakingly beautiful, everything covered in roses. The fragrance must have been amazing.
And the people there just radiated peace. Julian was totally in awe.
But there was a condition for learning their wisdom, wasn't there?
Yes. He had to promise to go back to his own world and share what he learned. Share the system with others who needed it.
Which brings us full circle, back to Catherine in the hospital.
Exactly. He's there fulfilling his promise. He tells Catherine he'll help her fix her family relationships, bring spirit into her home, simplify her life, find balance.
And he makes this bold claim, you can have it all. A satisfying career and a rich home life.
In fact, he argues that building that strong home foundation actually makes you more successful at work. It fuels it.
He walks the talk, moves into this tiny room over Catherine's garage, lives simply, practices everything he preaches.
Catherine notes he'd lost all the material stuff, but he'd gained something far more important.
Superb health, a lively spirit, profound wisdom. He'd swapped complexity for simplicity, frustration for celebration. He'd found grace.
So this sets the stage for him teaching Catherine the 5 masteries straight from the sages.
Okay, mastery number 1. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Leadership in life begins with leadership at home.
The source makes a really interesting parallel here between families and organizations.
Right. Both have unique cultures, and both need leadership to really thrive, to become vibrant. BraveLife.com succeeded because leadership came from everyone, not just the top.
So the idea is you need to bring that same kind of leadership into your home, inspire everyone to contribute, create a shared vision for the future.
A gorgeous future vision, he calls it. A compelling cause for your family that really gets everyone excited and engaged.
And where does that start? With taking responsibility.
Yes, that Churchill quote, "The price of greatness is responsibility." As humans, we can choose our response to anything.
Don't wait for your partner or your kids to change. You be the change. You be the catalyst, as Catherine realized she needed to be.
And a huge part of that is being a role model. This is crucial.
The best way to inspire your children is to become the kind of adult you want them to be. That's powerful. Kids watch everything.
They absorb your actions, your values, your beliefs, even your negative patterns get passed down.
The source says, after quality time, the best gift you can give your kids is your example. There's even that poem about little eyes watching you, wanting to be just like you.
So this mastery leads to creating a family vision agreement.
Right. Actually sitting down, figuring out what kind of family culture you want, writing it down vividly.
Committing it to paper makes it real. It's an agreement, a pledge to focus on the things that truly count.
It helps you stop just reacting to life and start living by choice, intentionally. The source even suggests taking that agreement, prioritizing, and setting actual goals with deadlines.
Okay, moving on. The second mastery. Shift from scolding the child to molding the leader.
And we see Catherine and John actually doing this, working on their vision agreement, looking hard at the examples they were setting.
Realizing they had to stop doing what was easy and start doing what was right.
And it worked. Their relationship improved dramatically. They started really talking, reflecting, trying to understand each other.
That phrase, "get behind his eyeballs," trying to see the other's perspective, asking, what must he be feeling? How can I help?
They got closer, rediscovered their spark, appreciated each other more. More laughter, more hugs, more I love yous. They actually enjoyed being together again.
But the source is realistic. It wasn't an overnight fix with the kids.
No. They were sometimes clingy, through tantrums. Years of absence created insecurity. It takes time to rebuild that trust. A few good months don't erase the past.
Makes sense. This mastery also ties into research findings mentioned, like that University of Nebraska study on happy families.
Yeah, things like prioritizing family, being openly affectionate, positive communication, really listening, discussing things, spending lots of time together, and importantly, a happy relationship between the parents.
And the source acknowledges families look different now. Single parents, grandparents raising kids, blended families.
Right. Stay-at-home dads, execs working from home. But the principles still apply.
And a key skill Julian teaches here is aggressive listening. Which sounds intense, but
It's not about being aggressive personally. It's about being aggressively committed to listening.
a lost skill, he says. But essential for trust. It means giving your undivided attention, really concentrating, blocking out distractions.
It's something you have to practice and master. He uses Porter, the son, as an example. Kids just blossom under that kind of focused attention.
This mastery also brings up speaking the truth. Honesty.
Yeah, Julian learned from the sages that their influence stemmed from being devoted to truth. He argues that being radically honest improves everything, home and work.
Integrity and decency become like a competitive edge in a world that often lacks them.
Okay, on to the third mastery. Focus your child on greatness, not weakness.
The source sets this scene nicely. Catherine meets Julian in an art museum, in the Michelangelo room, after she's already been practicing the first two masteries for a couple of weeks.
And she's seeing real changes. She's more positive. Her home life is developing this spiritual quality. Respect, trust, truth are valued.
She's also learning to take time for herself, enjoy simple moments, develop a rich heart, as she puts it, a big shift from chasing wealth.
So this third mastery, it's not about pushing your kids to be like world champions at everything.
No, it's about inspiring them to be the best they can be, helping them find their unique talents and live their best possible lives. That's the parent's job.
And how do you do that? It involves steps. First, discovering their strengths, their true gifts, what makes them special.
Then helping them become aware of those gifts. And finally, the cultivation stage, helping those talents bloom.
Which might involve practical things like lessons or books. But the main thing is encouraging that focus on their unique gifts, early and consistently.
This leads into Julian discussing the 4 disciplines of personal greatness. And he stresses, these are for you too, not just your kids.
His core point here is fascinating. To add value to others, to contribute meaningfully, you first have to know your essential self.
Who are you, really? What's your character? What drives you? Most people, he says, just plod through life without ever really exploring this.
Wise people look inward, they understand themselves, their potential, and then they create goodness. Happiness isn't about getting stuff. That leads to misery.
An extraordinary life comes from self-exploration. And this is Catherine's big aha moment. She realizes the change has to start inside her. Focus on being, not having.
So two of these disciplines get highlighted. First, envision daily.
The power of visualization. Creating mental pictures of how you want to be, seeing yourself succeeding, like those Olympic athletes the source mentions.
Julian says kids are great at this. They're natural dreamers. It can help them overcome fears, improve behaviors, create positive results, even just 20 minutes a day.
The other one mentioned is walk with the giants regularly.
Which means deliberately exposing yourself and your kids to great thinkers, leaders, geniuses, through books, videos, whatever.
Spending time with great minds makes your own mind better. You rise to their level. You learn how they handled adversity, what principles guided them.
Love that quote. A person is known by the company their mind keeps. It's like playing tennis with someone better. It improves your game.
Julian even suggests listening to biographies in the car with the kids. Simple, practical.
This mastery also talks about focusing on the bigness in children, helping them avoid that trap so many adults fall into.
Living small lives. Thinking small, acting small, playing small, avoiding risks, staying safe.
Exactly, staying in that illusory zone of security. Julian apparently had a fun gallery of the greats gag to illustrate this.
And finally, it touches on discipline again. Good parenting means taking the high road, not the easy one. Following your conscience, your values.
Discipline isn't punishment, it's presented as a gift. Kids need clear boundaries, consistent standards. It makes them feel loved and secure. It builds character, a sense of right and wrong.
So, as Julian keeps sharing, the source gets into more practical things for self-mastery, for leading from within. These connect to the ideas in the fourth and fifth masteries.
Right, like the 5 o'clock club, just getting up early.
Creates that extra pocket of time for inner work, doesn't it? Meditation, visualization, reading, planning, just quiet thinking.
The source mentions someone who did this religiously, up at 5 a.m. for 70 years, and called it their best habit.
Gives you vitality, insights, clarity on how you add value. That Pascal quote comes up too about how much misery comes from simply not being able to sit quietly alone.
Then there's caring for the temple, which is about breathing.
Yeah, fresh air and conscious deep breathing. The sages said to breathe properly is to live properly. Julian always kept his windows open.
It builds energy, vitality. Simple but fundamental. Breathing is the first thing we do when we're born.
Another practice. Recording your life. Keeping a journal.
Why? To learn from what happens, grow wiser, use past experiences for future success, gain self-awareness, clarity, think more deeply.
It's about living consciously, intentionally, having regular one-on-one conversations with yourself.
And I really like this next one. Taking a weekly sabbatical.
Setting aside a chunk of time each week, maybe 6-7 hours.
Yeah, any day works. Time specifically for those important but commonly neglected pursuits. Things like family time, hobbies, just recharging.
It's about bringing back that tradition we've kind of lost in our crazy pace. Time to play, dance, think, feed your spirit, just wake up to the wonders around you.
It's not selfish, it's an investment in yourself. Keeps you fresh, energized, playful, lets you perform at your best the rest of the time.
And during that sabbatical, cultivating gratitude.
Using some of that time to list your blessings in your journal, because what you focus on grows, what you think about expands.
And what you dwell on determines your destiny. Powerful reminder to stay focused on the good.
Julian also offers that interesting take on suffering, that it's basically the difference between the way things are and the way you imagine they should be. Shifts your perspective on hardship. All this ties into the bigger idea of legacy, which seems central to the fifth mastery. Julian tells that story. Osceola McCarty.
The washerwoman. Saved her money her whole life, lived simply, then donated it all for scholarships.
Her legacy wasn't about being famous. It was about touching lives, being an inspiration. Julian uses her story to make a point about heroism.
That, deep down, we see the world as a theater for heroism. We all have that potential.
So he pushes Catherine and us to ask, what will my life stand for after I have died? What footprints will you leave?
It's not about needing to be Gandhi or Mother Teresa. It's about living in a way that transcends yourself, caring for the world, showing compassion, concern for others.
Letting go of limitations, daring to be your best self, and passing that wisdom to your children, that's a noble deed.
This involves finding your own compelling cause. That Kierkegaard idea of finding something you can live and die for.
An aim that ignites your soul. Even if it just helps one other person improve their life, that's when you begin to truly live.
He suggests asking kids, and yourself, how can I be most useful and valuable to the world? And what is the highest use of my time and talents? Big questions.
Julian's final message to Catherine really sums it up. Be a light.
Be a light to your children, to your partner, to the world. Show up as your best self. Play full out. Guide others with love and spirit. Help make things better.
And then he gives her that gift, the inukshuk.
With those simple words engraved, pay attention to life.
Referencing Henry Miller, the moment one gives close attention to anything, even a blade of grass, it becomes a mysterious, awesome, indescribably magnificent world in itself.
Wow. It really brings it back to the present moment, doesn't it? To the wonder that's always there if we just look.
So that was quite a journey we took through the source material, from Catherine's crisis and awakening
To Julian's incredible transformation and the wisdom he brought back from the sages.
We've unpacked some really core ideas. Leadership starting at home, being a role model, the power of listening.
Focusing on strength. Practical ways to renew yourself, envisioning, learning from greats, early mornings, breathing, journaling, taking sabbaticals.
And ending with that profound sense of purpose and legacy. It's a lot to think about.
Absolutely. And remember, this isn't just Catherine's story. The source offers this framework for you.
So thinking about everything we've discussed, what resonated most strongly with you listening right now? Which of these ideas or practices feels like something you might want to explore?
Maybe it's Julian's take on suffering that gap between reality and expectation. Does that change how you view challenges?
Or perhaps it's just that simple, powerful message from the Inukshuk. Pay attention to life. What might happen? What might you discover if you just committed to paying a little more attention starting today?